Here you are at the controls of your ship, spinning through the debris of an epic space battle. Suddenly your right wing gets ripped off by an impact, but not like in other games where it simply disappears, no. Here, it comes apart, according to physical calculations so precise it would make a strength of materials engineer weep.
Math is pretty complicated.
Perhaps I could help you with it.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to play a game where each destruction was unique? Where every impact would have real science-based consequences? In Star Citizen, the Maelstrom system isn't just a scientific term tossed around for pretty. It's the magic formula that determines how every material deforms under pressure. Imagine an ultra-sophisticated space rubber band. Maelstrom describes exactly how your hull will bend, twist, and eventually give way under impact. When I compare this to Mass Effect's Normandy trajectory calculation, it's like comparing a calculator to a quantum supercomputer. In Mass Effect, your ship follows predefined trajectories with simplified damage, weigh life points that decrease. In Star Citizen version 2025 and beyond, every impact tells a more complex physical story. The angle of impact, the strength of the material, the propagation of forces through the structure, everything is calculated in real time. Basically, while Normandy does its basic little calculations of if A shoots B, then B loses X hit points, Star Citizen calculates the deformation of every beam, the failure of every joint, the propagation of every crack, as if it were a real space crash test in real time. It's the difference between playing marbles and doing quantum physics.
No way!
And frankly, who hasn't dreamed of seeing their ship react realistically to damage? Or build your base on a moon safe from pirates? Or within reach of your prey? Or track down space monsters with friends? Will 2025 see some of these dreams come true? So welcome to a reckless exploration of Star Citizen's future, where we'll dissect tomorrow's space promises with the cautious optimism of a Raytheon core pilot in a PvP zone, ships still stashed away in designers' drawers, features that make developers salivate about a bug-free future we can always dream of, and an update structure that, this time, vowed not to crash and turn the server to glass. So I already know what some of you are typing furiously in the comments. 4.0 is barely out, everything's on PLS, and you're talking to us about 2025. Yes, exactly. Because while the developers are hard at work transforming our wobbly 4.0 into a playable experience, there's nothing to stop us looking up to the horizon. The servers are playing roller coaster, yet this is precisely the perfect time to talk about the future. While the technical teams battle bugs with the relentlessness of a combat medic, we can afford to explore what's looming in the distance. So yes, 4.0 is as stable as a rookie after his first mission in Pyro, but it's precisely because the present is complicated that it's refreshing to talk about the future. Consider this video a relaxing break between server crashes, an escape into the what if, while reality slowly gets back on track. Remember, in 2017, while some were still dreaming of cryptocurrencies, the wizards at CIG were simmering Item 2.0 in their digital cauldron, a silent system that nonetheless gives each material its own personality. Metals are getting touchy, liquids capricious, and composites more stubborn than a teenager in the middle of a crisis. Maelstrom could have been called Item 3.0. In any case, it lands and upsets all this little organized world. A real technical Big Bang where damage, crafting, and salvage merge in a frantic dance. Materials are no longer content to exist foolishly. They live, they suffer, they retain memory. Every impact leaves its mark, every repair its imprint in the molecular structure. The salvage then takes on the allure of a space investigation. That piece of armor you tear from the corpse of a gladius, it could write its memoirs. Thermal deformations tell the story of its last battles. Microscopic cracks whisper the story of its defeat. Physics becomes poetry, and each wreck transforms scrap dealers into archaeologists of the future. Who knew a piece of space metal could be so chatty? Crafting chimeras are going to have to rethink their strategy. Bullets whizzing merrily through your target's hull don't just make holes, they sign a death warrant for salvage value. A size 7 sulfate machine is the equivalent of a downgraded stamp on your precious loot. Then space desperados will have to play fine. Gone are the days when you could turn a shipwreck into a colander and hope to hit the jackpot. Finesse pays, brutality costs. The future kings of salvage will be those who know how to loosen their prey without nuking it. Not sure I fit the definition at the drop of a hat. An intact shipwreck is gold, and every projectile impact, every plasma overheat will decrease the loot value. Pirates will have to become surgeons. Millimeter precision, targeted shooting. The difference between a space behemoth turned into Swiss cheese, and yes, I've done this one to you before, and a beautiful, carefully neutralized catch could well be millions of credits. Tomorrow's real space gangster may be wearing a lab coat. Returning to the more technical part, the stress analysis system will use a three-dimensional mesh of computational beams, assessing the state of each material section in real time. If you've understood what I've just said, well done.
Right.
Basically, what I wanted to say is that this sophisticated modeling goes far beyond the traditional concept of point of view. It simulates the propagation of forces through the structure via a network of virtual cantilever beams. According to the developers, these beams make it possible to precisely calculate natural breaking points as a function of applied stresses, creating a physical simulation faithful to the laws of material mechanics. As long as, in the end, it translates into eye-popping visual effects, I'm cool with it. This technology is set to establish a new paradigm in the space video game industry by unifying systems usually treated separately. For this to work, Maelstrom's central processor needs to perceive each of the ship's components as an autonomous entity. Let's take the concrete example of a Gladius wing unfolding. The system instantly assigns it a unique, persistent identifier, which will keep its physical properties and functional systems intact. The weapons mounted on these retain their firing capability, and the electrical circuits continue to transmit energy as long as their power supply persists. Maelstrom's magic doesn't just send debris flying through space, it orchestrates a perfectly timed ballet of destruction across the network. Imagine hundreds of players seeing exactly the same space demolition show, even with a connection as stable as my mother-in-law's who still hasn't figured out what it's for. Sabox. Every piece of ship that comes loose becomes an integral player in this symphony of chaos. The pieces of your precious ship don't just float foolishly in the void. This torn-off solar panel continues to produce energy if it's still powered. This unhooked turret may well continue to fire if its systems are intact. Every part of your ship will really go on to live its own little dramatic life after the divorce. Destructible clusters transform your proud ship into a high-tech three-dimensional puzzle. When two ships collide, Maelstrom doesn't simply call the help to decide who explodes. He calculates every deformation, every stress, every break with the precision of an obsessive accountant. The result is a unique destruction every time, as personal as a digital signature in the vacuum of space. The contact surface between two clusters becomes a determining factor in the equation. We're taking over the wing of our Gladius. Its junction with the fuselage features a large contact surface, distributing impact forces over a wide area. Stabilizers, on the other hand, with their reduced contact surface, concentrate these same forces on a much smaller area, making them naturally more vulnerable. An impact at the end of a structure will therefore generate a greater force than an impact close to the anchor point. Maelstrom calculates these forces, accumulates them, and determines precisely when and where the structure will give way. Materials behave according to their true properties: density, elastic moduli, breaking limits, and when a structure reaches its breaking point, it doesn't just disappear. It fragments along real lines of force, generating debris whose trajectory and shape are directly derived from stress calculations. Maelstrom maintains total physical coherence, transforming each destruction into a demonstration of the laws of material mechanics. And now I know a viewer is wondering why I haven't tackled the Nyx star system yet. And he's right, so let's talk about it. This little gem that will shake up our flying habits. Imagine navigating through a cosmic weight mashed potato so dense that even your state-of-the-art scanners start to stutter. The cozy comfort of Stanton's quantum highways or Pyro's anarchic battles. Welcome to the age of blind adventure. The system's main peculiarity lies in its immense interstellar dust cloud, an astronomical phenomenon that profoundly affects gameplay. This formation absorbs electromagnetic signals and creates interference zones that disrupt conventional navigation systems. Your state-of-the-art equipment becomes as useful as a GPS in the Bermuda Triangle, and all this will force pilots to develop new navigation strategies. Traditional detection systems are becoming unreliable, necessitating the use of alternative techniques such as visual spotting or the exploitation of heat signatures. All of a sudden, we're going to have to reinvent ourselves, pilot. Gone are the gadgets, back to basics, your eyes and your instinct. This is the kind of system that will separate the true adventurers from the tourists. A true test of space survival that would make the pioneers of exploration weep with joy. And an important point about Nyx, it's going to be gravity. In Levski, your ship feels like a space feather, 6 times lighter than in Stanton's landing zones. Space behemoths finally find their grace, freed from the shackles of their mass. No more landings that make jet engines screech and fuel gauges melt. Pilots accustomed to their city hangar are going to have to unlearn their reflexes. Here, the slightest reactor thrust sends you waltzing into the cosmos. Classic approaches, as outdated as a cassette player. Welcome to the era of weightless piloting, where delicacy replaces raw power. Levski's infrastructure itself was designed to exploit these unique gravitational conditions. Docking areas and port facilities incorporate guidance systems adapted to the local environment. The outer docks stretch out into the void, connected by a network of zero-gravity tunnels. The cargo ship takes on a new dimension. Containers float between platforms in a silent choreography. And in the middle of it all, centralized hangars concentrate commercial activities within jetpack range. And crisp detail, I remind you that the Vandul prowl the borders of Nyx, turning this cosmic cloud into a perfect hunting ground. From there to say who will hunt whom, I I guess it depends on your determination. These virtuosos of space warfare have made this stellar mashed potato their favorite playground. The threat never sleeps. Attacks emerge from the darkness with the precision of Swiss timekeeping. I hope the Vanduul have elevated space, stopping to a martial art. They should dance between zones of interference, their ships swallowed by cosmic darkness, before re-emerging where they're least expected. In such a system, commercial convoys sail on eggshells, defensive systems run at full throttle, and thermal sensors scan the darkness until overheated. In this stellar fog, every anomaly could herald a Vandal squadron. Captains become paranoid, crews sleep with one eye open. The slightest suspicious signal triggers the red alert. This is what happens when you set up shop in the garden of galactic predators. It has to be said that Delamar represents a unique case in the Star Citizen universe. This asteroid station, relocated from the Stanton system in 2019, has undergone a major transformation to adapt to its new environment. Delamar's infrastructure now combines historic architecture with modern technological innovation. The original corridors designed for Stanton's peaceful trade now house camouflaged defense systems. Living areas have been redesigned to allow rapid evacuation in the event of an attack, and commercial hangars incorporate emergency locking mechanisms and automated defense systems. And for me, returning to Levski is a bit like Proust's Madeleine hiding a scorpion. Old regulars will find their bearings again, but beware of automatisms. The rules have changed. The same corridors that once housed peaceful transactions have become potential cutthroats. Danger and opportunity now play hide and seek in every nook and cranny. I'm looking forward to returning to these venues that hosted many of our group sessions back in the day. And yes, no camaraderie there. And sometimes more FPS, as long as you stay away from the landing zone. Really good memories. And while we're reshaping our survival reflexes in Levski, the developers are preparing a poisoned gift for us. In 12 to 18 months, Star Citizen could be transformed into a galactic menagerie. First guest announced, the Monox worm, a biological aberration that makes dinosaurs look like hamsters. This worm-like behemoth ushers in a new era of space hunting. The developers have set themselves a titanic challenge to create a hostile ecosystem that will turn our planetary explorations into high-risk expeditions. When this beast decides to point the tip of its rings, bounty hunters may have to reconsider their definition of big game. Valhalla reinvents space combat with a scenario worthy of a crazy blockbuster. This terror of the sands orchestrates a deadly ballet in 3 acts. First he charges at you, brutal and direct. Then he propels you through the air, turning your Valkyrie into a space kite. And while you're still admiring the view, surprise, he makes short work of the reinforcements that have just arrived. And in such an environment, monster hunting will become a scientific discipline. Every creature slain enriches the database. Biological components become the new black market currency. Researchers snatch up your samples, space alchemists make them their new fetish ingredients. Science joins organized crime in a frenzied biotechnological waltz. Against this already exciting backdrop, the Fauna Matrix arrives with the ambition of a secret government genetic project. 1,000 variations of creatures, each sculpted by its environment down to the last molecule. Developers play evolution's sorcerer's apprentice. Valhalla perfectly illustrates this creative madness. Cousin of the swamps, a total reinvention. Lungs modified to filter silt, muscles densified by hydrostatic pressure, bloods hypertrophied to stalk in the peat. The Caverniculus version swaps its eyes for a sensory arsenal that turns darkness into hunting territory. Each mutation must rewrite the rules of the game. Combat tactics evolve. What worked in the desert becomes suicidal underwater. The economy also reinvents itself. Hunters become naturalists, deciphering the ecosystem through its predators. Time itself becomes the architect of this evolution. Seasons reshape creatures, and space storms generate unpredictable mutations. A radioactive aurora can turn your usual prey into a biotech nightmare. Fauna Matrix doesn't just create monsters, it forges a living ecosystem where each creature bears the imprint of its evolutionary history. It thus becomes a central element of scientific gameplay, allowing players to specialize their research on certain species or ecosystems. The data collected will feed an evolutionary knowledge base, creating a true ecological simulation on the scale of the verse. All in all, planets become totally wacky evolutionary laboratories. Pyro transforms his creatures into thermophilic dragons. Icy moons sculpt beasts that would make an industrial freezer shudder. And meanwhile, Stanton's critters live their cushy little lives, oblivious to the space Darwinism exploding elsewhere. Well, while the space fauna goes haywire, let's not forget the shipyards, which are also going up in flames. The developers throw out a list of ships in gestation that would make an Imperial fleet blush, but gently basins. In development doesn't mean ready for takeoff. These space babies will still need time in the incubators before joining our stellar garage. But that doesn't stop us talking about it, even if for some, the very idea of a new ship is as indigestible as a fondue after an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet. the Star Lancer build could debut, pumped up on industrial steroids. It won't be just a drone. It'll be a real flying factory ready to turn any mundane place into a secret base. From there to imagine it landing with drone gameplay, those little tools that will be able to do it all. In short, artisan builders can put away their trowels. The era of colonial automation has arrived. Next, a mysterious newcomer sneaks into the development hangars. TIE Shuttle, a design that makes all the experts tick. Theories fly in all directions. Some see it as a premium space cab, others as a stealthy infiltrator. The developers are no doubt observing the speculative chaos with a wry smile. As for Drake, the builder throws his new paving stone into the pond. A familiar silhouette reminiscent of their bestseller, but with mind-blowing proportions. Aficionados are tearing their hair out over the blueprints. As an added bonus, the machine might show its nose sooner than expected. It's true that Drake engineers have their little habits. Their tools are already hot. See you in late 2025, but keep an open mind anyway. Under control. As for RSI, they draw the Apollo, a walking showcase of their medical know-how. Signature undercarriage, pure RSI propulsion, a turret that does the rear proud. The DNA is undeniable. But the developers remain adamant there's no question of releasing this gem into the wild before they've revolutionized the medical system. See you in 2026, when space doctors finally have tools worthy of the name. And then I'd read somewhere that the Apollo would go out and save its patients thanks to a drone, so yet another gameplay feature we're looking forward to. Then the Perseus bursts into the arena, as massive as a hammerhead but armed to the teeth. It's shaping up to be the new nightmare for jumbo jets. The hammerheads will have to rethink their strategy, the Polaris their superiority, and the Caterpillars, quite simply, their trade route. The developers are clearly riding the momentum of Polaris. System broken in, assets looped. The first quarter of 2025 could see this space predator released into the wild. Clearly one of CIG's biggest hits with the backs. I almost forgot to mention the ironclad that closes the march, the XXL version of space transport that makes trade barons fantasize. Developers juggle a complex equation, getting it out before the Kraken, to break in systems without sacrificing quality. 2026 or even 2027 is on the horizon. A titanic project that requires time, patience, and lots of patience. Okay, and since everyone's talking about it, base building in 2025, we might as well wait for the next Kubrick movie to come out.
When you do it, you've got to look desperate, Charlie. You're just wasting everybody's time.
But let's not sulk. The devs are working on a system that promises to bring our space colonization fantasies to life. And I know what some people are going to tell me, that I'm getting too carried away, that I should temper my ardor. But you know what I tell the censor? Oui. Because this building system has the potential to make us live our most beautiful space colonist dream, Alien, the return style. See? I'm talking about the part where everything goes right before Ripley has to swoop in. A little thought for her. Undoubtedly the heroine who has had the most poise in the whole universe. We've all seen those images. The graph card unfurling its augmented vision over the pristine terrains of moons and planets, revealing secrets buried on the surface, precious veins glinting in the depths, habitable zones lighting up on the scanner. On Pyro, you don't need a building permit. Your only limit is your survival instinct. At least until a curious Valaka comes to visit the neighborhood. In this world, electricity becomes the lifeblood of every outpost. A coughing generator and your high-tech refuge turns into a space tomb. Fuses. Those little technological guardians, separate bases that survive from those that die in obscurity. Elite craftsmen toil to perfect their components, while Sunday tinkerers pray in front of their discount setups. In space, no one hears you moaning about a short circuit. And don't forget that resources will melt like snow in the sun during construction. Did you think you'd be rocking a base in no time? Surprise! Every wall, every door, every panel devours your precious materials. Patience thus becomes your best ally as your cargoes evaporate in construction. The interior, a boundless playground. Augmented reality decoration system waltzes holograms through space. A luxurious sofa here? No. Rather there, a craft station against that wall? Perfect. Possibilities explode while your imagination runs wild. The upgrade system, called TIR, turns all codes upside down. TIR 1, basic but functional. Tier 2, things are getting serious. TIR 3, a space fortress that taunts the fiercest assaults. It'll be a race to get the premium materials. And the icing on the cake, this technology spills over into hangars and ships. Lock down your creations or let your visitors drool over your sense of design. In this new age of space construction, your imagination becomes the only limit. Well, that in your bank account. In UEC, I mean. We've got to stop buying ships, damn it. And as part of this, the crafting system will land like a tsunami in this already bubbling universe. Blueprints, above all, will become players' new obsession. Some are hidden in crates, others are earned over the course of missions. The rarest are snatched up for gold from guilds. A blueprint discovered, it's yours forever. No theft possible, no exchange. This knowledge is engraved in your character's character's brain. But beware, owning the blueprint isn't enough. The real magic has to work in research and development. In short, get ready to see your credits evaporate faster than a leaky atmosphere in space. Blueprints could well become the new currency for obsessive collectors. Imagine raiders forsaking cargo for the hunt for rare recipes. Let's not even talk about high-performance fuses that will trade for the price of an apartment on Hardcore. Your bank account will experience a permanent negative gravitational pull.
That's pretty spot on.
Crafteers will have to choose between eating or upgrading their machines, while trade barons snatch up premium components. Inflation, yes, inflation is coming to space, and this time, no government to print CEUs. So I hope you don't forget to save, or else prepare to live in a rusty Drake vulture eating stale rations. At least the views of multiple sunsets are free, finally. For now. But that's what we like, isn't it? While some games have you farming carrots in your virtual garden, Star Citizen has us building bases while a giant green tries to eat us, and a vandal shoots at us. It's in this idyllic setting that the research lab will pulse to the rhythm of your discoveries. Want to improve your pistol blueprint? Crack 100. Find the one that shoots the fastest, and collect data for the scientific guild. Superior shots can't be unlocked by snapping your fingers. Once again, patience, patience. Refining becomes a veritable ballet of precision. Quality will depend on your primary ore, but secondary material also plays an important role. Use second-rate coal and your consumption explodes. Catalysts act as a booster for those who can afford to pay the premium on their production. Manufacturing machines swarm in stations and hangars. In this world, manufacturing machines swarm in stations and hangars. The food fabricator turns your rations into space feasts. The chemical lab awaits its Heisenberg apprentices, and the universal fabricator promises to bring your wildest dreams to life. Public facilities offer convenience, private facilities discretion, choose your poison, and it's the technological level of your machines that will dictate the quality of your production. An entry-level machine will spit out functional products, but without refinement. A Tier 3 fabricator, meanwhile, will sublimate your materials into technological marvels. With over 1,000 blueprints just waiting for their master, space craftsmanship promises years of discovery. Some collectors may become richer than arms dealers. It's clear the system will encourage specialization. It's impossible to master everything. Weapons crackers rub shoulders with shield specialists while Starship component experts perfect their secret recipes. And it's getting hard to do a Star Citizen video without mentioning the Mishing server. He's transforming Star Citizen into a bubbling space hive. Since 4.0, servers have welcomed 5 to 6 times more players than before. Technology proves its worth, even if it sometimes staggers under its own weight. Performance is climbing. Servers are breathing easier, but let's keep our feet on the ground. A few parasites still persist in the system. Jumping connections, latency playing yo-yo, but we know that technicians track down these anomalies with the relentlessness of a bounty hunter. The 2,000-player stress test will go down in the annals of history. The servers took the shock even if loading times stretched to infinity and terminals experienced a few epileptic fits. Every crash has become a lesson. Every bug, who knows, an opportunity. As you can see, the system is finding its cruising speed around 500-600 players, orchestrated by 8 servers dancing together. A performance that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. And when a 400-player server recovered from a critical crash, frankly the devs popped the virtual champagne. Or maybe the real thing? Resilience is no longer a myth. But the developers are already aiming higher, further ahead. The dynamic machine server points its nose at the horizon, promising even greater flexibility. Behind-the-scenes testing intensifies as engineers optimize every line of code. And I think most importantly, 2025 is shaping up to be the year Star Citizen must finally land on its feet. The priority is to make what we already have work properly before piling on new layers of technology. Chris Roberts hammered it home. Gameplay first, grandiose dreams second.
It almost feels impossible.
At least, that's how I understood it. Today's meshing server is clearly playing guinea pig. And it's important to bear in mind that players, even if for many it's in spite of themselves, are pioneers of this new digital frontier. The system grows with its community, learning from its mistakes as a particularly stubborn space artificial intelligence. And we should start to see a metamorphosis in the CIG offices too. Gone are the compartmentalized teams, zigzagging between Squadron 42 and the PU. Make way for off-road development squadrons, a reorganization that promises more responsiveness, more efficiency. 2025 may not be the year of great revolutions, but it will be the year when Star Citizen finally learns to walk straight. And I also hope this year will bring CIG back to Star Citizen's natural heartbeat. A major update every 3 months, without all the fragmented patches of 2023 and 2024.
Keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
No more temporary patches. Developers would need to get to the roots, modernize the infrastructure, and optimize the mechanics that make the heart of the universe beat faster. And if it goes like that, quality of life becomes a top priority. Each update brings its share of improvements for the comfort of players. The interface is being refined, chronic bugs are gradually disappearing, and systems are being harmonized with constant optimizations. And the stream of new features should finally begin to integrate without breaking the little that works. In short, without compromising stability. Base building, crafting, new ships, each addition should fit naturally into the existing ecosystem. I then see the teams juggling innovation and consolidation, pushing the game towards its 1.0 version. The Squadron 42 and PU teams finally stop making faces at each other in the CIG cafeteria. Good ideas circulate, solutions are exchanged, and everyone discovers that miraculously collaboration is pretty cool, but more importantly, it works. Reach takes command of the PU with the enthusiasm of a captain who has just discovered that his ship has a turbo button. His mission? To turn this eternal alpha into a real game. No cultural revolution on the horizon, just the mad desire to see Star Citizen become what it should have been all along. A game you can actually play. Incredible concept, isn't it? But honestly, Star Citizen's alpha is slowly starting to show signs of maturity. That is, if you consider that 10 years is the age of reason for a space game. Version 1.0 looms on the horizon, somewhere between soon and when cows get quantum reactors. The game is gradually metamorphosing, this outsized space experience that backers have been dreaming of since 2012. A dream taking shape with the patience of a space glacier, but moving forward.
It's done.
And this transformation isn't a finish line, rather the true start of the adventure. So here's the panorama of what's in store for us in the years to come. Giant worms dreaming of making us their 4 o'clock, bases set to bloom on every habitable pebble, and servers attempting the feat of cohabiting hundreds of pilots without going into a tailspin. The future looks exciting, even if no one really dares to put a date on it. After all, in space, nobody hears you setting dates there. Before I finally leave you alone, don't forget to manhandle that like button with the force of a Perseus shooting a hammerhead, subscribe faster than a charging Valaka, and share this video like it's the latest Tier 5 blueprint in the universe. Come on, we'll meet again very soon.